Hello everyone, this is Tetrafolium, and I'm here with some Pilotwings in the background. We'll see if we get through the entire soundtrack here. It's a very underrated piece of Nintendo music here. If you're interested in hearing some older stuff, I would recommend checking it out. Definitely having it playing in the background here. Why am I playing some Pilotwings? Why do you see Quagsire in the corner? Well, actually, in the course of me playing the El Plastico team, I was reached out to by Z Panther, who sniped me on the ladder. No, he didn't actually snipe me, but he said, "Oh, this is an interesting idea for a team. Have you tried Quagsire on Superman?" And I said, "No, I have not tried Quagsire on Superman. Obviously not. Who's done that?" But he said, well, "What if you slightly alter your team, make it a Superman team, and try that out?" And I said, "Okay, I guess I will try that." And I played a bunch of games, and I'm going to show you some Superman gaming. So, through the course of this, we're going to try to explain what I think Superman is and why the first version of the team, the El Plastico, is not a Superman in my opinion, but this one is. So, let's start off with a gamer here, Oof Maxima. You're probably familiar with Oof if you're big into the revival tournaments, plays and all that. In any case, we end up against a Kadabra lead, very strange, and goes out to Heracross as I go for an HP bug and Fire Punch doing kind of a decent amount of Scarm, but not quite enough. So, Tyranitar can just come in and kind of goop. Goes for a nice hidden power grass for 41%. And then I get Dugtrio trapped, so not great. But not so bad because I have a Superman team where any of the 4 of my 5 remaining Pokemon can switch in and be completely fine against the Dugtrio. So you'll see Flygon here, and this is going to be the staple of Superman. This is arguably the mon that makes Superman Superman. And why is that the case? So Superman as an archetype, I think we all agree that you have to have a lot of Spikes immunity. And how are you going to stack Spikes in generation? Also, you're Jirachi with Rain Dance. Very insane. But in any case, Superman is a style that's going to stack a lot of flying types, which means that you're probably going to have a lot of rock weaknesses. And even in this case, like for example, Skarm and Gengar are not rock weak, but they're not good at taking rock moves. Nice substitute by Oof there. I am just gonna roar though. In any case, like because you have so many rock weaknesses and so many Pokemon that don't necessarily like to take rock moves, they're not good into Tyranitar or Aerodactyl, you're gonna want to have some rock resistances. So Swampert is a very common Pokemon on Superman type of teams. In fact, if you had Swampert instead of Quagsire here, this would probably be a Superman team you might have seen before. But the concept here is that we're going to use Quag again to help us out with our water type matchups. Didn't really do that much against Kingdra in this. That's kind of okay. Kingdra is very commonly teching HP grass. I mean, sometimes it's HP electric instead, in which case you're not so bad. Nice crit by me. In any case, Flygon, I'm kind of going all over the place. I'm BKC in this video. Flygon is one of the only Pokemon that is a rock resist and a ground immunity. The other Pokemon that you might have is Claydol, but sort of issue with Claydol is its most valuable utility is in spinning, and on a Superman team you don't really like need the spin that badly. So Flygon is kind of the mon of choice to be your ground immunity / Spikes immunity / Dugtrio immunity. It's all the same. And your rock resist. So That's part of the thing, the reason, or part of the things that make a Superman team a Flygon. Arguably, you could have Claydol as well. There are some teams where maybe you have a severe Gengar weakness on your Superman team. Claydol could be the option to help you out there, but in essence, one of the rules of Superman, in my opinion, is that you have to have a ground immune rock resist. So that means you have to have Flygon or Claydol. Get into the next game here against Infernos, who has a Jolteon lead. And a Vaporeon. I'm thinking, oh man, this has got to be either like a serious baton pass team or an unserious EV. It looks like it's a super serious baton pass team. Everything on the team has baton pass. I wouldn't be shocked if the cell would be baton pass right there, but it's probably going to baton pass with a sub now. Not to Magneton. In any case, that's important. I think another important element is Skarmory. Now, okay, technically, I don't think that you absolutely need Skarmory on a Superman team, but I think the point of a Superman team, what it allows you to do, is keep the spikes advantage versus your opponent. So, you want a spiker on your Superman team. Pretty much guaranteed, I would say you would want that. The mixed attackers that Superman offers you are not quite as potent as you went in to get your Metagrosses and your Suicunes and your Snorlax and all that type of stuff. In any case, I think you're gonna need some kind of spiker, and you could do Cloyster, you could do Fortress, maybe, but the thing is, Skarmory has the spikes immunity, so want to have Skarm, I think, generally. So I would say that's the other element of a Superman team, is that your game plan has to be to play for spikes advantage, which necessitates that you need a spiker. Also, I want to note on Flygon here, you might have saw that I had Flamethrower. The reason why I have Flamethrower on Flygon, who dives to an HP Ice there. Good to know HP Ice, because Quagsire can come in. Against a Gyarados. That's not good. In any case, the reason why you want to have something like Flamethrower on Flygon, not always, but the reason why you would is you hit Skarmory. And I know that what you're thinking is, well, you're a Superman team, you don't care about Skarmory, right? It's just going to spike and it's going to do nothing. And that is, to some degree, true, but like, the problem is Skarmory is not just a spiker, right? It is a defensive Pokemon that spreads toxic, that roars you out, that Flygon cannot otherwise touch. And if you have Flamethrower, you can hit Skarmory for a decent chunk. Now, it's not going to be all that much. It's not even going to be that much compared to Fire Blast. But the reason why I have Flamethrower in particular is it's got more PP. That's the main reason. Yes, it's more accurate, but I care more about the PP. And, you know, one of the main goals of my Flamethrower as well is to click it on Pokemon that are coming in when, like, I know maybe they have something that's, like, not going to take much from my Rock Slide, because Flygon's Rock Slide is honestly pretty weak. I could go for a Flamethrower against them instead and try to fish for the burn. Not always the most consistent idea, but if you're behind a substitute anyway and you're afforded a turn to do something like that, then you certainly can try for it. That's quite good. Look at this baton pass. But this is gearing up for a Quagsire victory. You know, Swampert wouldn't win this. Probably not true. But actually, Quagsire is a lot better into Vaporeon than sorry, did I say Quagsire is better into Vaporeon? That's what I meant. Quagsire is much better into Vaporeon than Swampert would be. So, keep that in mind. Note that this, we already revealed that this Jolteon does not have HP Grass, so my opponent is running out of moves to be able to hit Quagsire. Simply just go for an Earthquake and get the damage. not going to be that consequential because the Vaporeon is just going to switch up. But see, that Ice Beam's only doing 25%. This Vaporeon otherwise would be relying on Surf for big damage, and it would get some decent damage into a, how should I say, to a Swampert if I had it. But because I have Quagsire instead, the Vaporeon is having to settle for Ice Beam damage, which is not that much. Yeah, the crit was definitely helpful for me to break through the Vaporeon early, but as long as I kept it low enough for Gengar to kill it off with Thunderbolt, we would have been fine. Marowak is dead to an Ice Punch Gengar as well, so that's okay. And if the Marowak comes in, I can simply just sack, like if I have to rest with the Quagsire, which I don't even know if I would. I think I might just sack and get the Earthquake off. But if the Marowak ever came in and tried to set up Swords Dances, I can just sack the Quagsire and then Gengar can come in and clean up the Marowak anyway. We were pretty fine there. But yeah, so your rules for Superman: ground immunity plus rock resist in one Pokemon, so Flygon or Claydol. A Spiker, which is usually going to be Farmery. Now let's talk about the Pokemon who are grounded, as we're playing Dome Ace Lucker. It's a decent player. Is this Jumpy? I think it might be. In any case, the lead Gengar goes for Hypnosis and misses, and I miss my Rock Slide, so kinda not great. Let's Sleep Sack the Quagsire. So, as for the grounded Pokemon, I don't think that there's technically a limit on how many grounded Pokemon you can have on a Superman team. Now, I do think that if you have 6 grounded Pokemon, well, for one, you have a bad team. And for two, why do you have a bad team? Because you don't have Scar. But, like, you have a bad team because you are taking a bunch of spikes, and you're going to need, like, super duper spinner support in order to make that sort of team. In any case, though, the grounded Pokemon on a Superman team, while I don't think that there's a hard limit on how many you can have, they have to meet some qualifications, okay? I think it is only a Superman team if no more than one of your grounded Pokemon does not have recovery. So, if we took the Quagsire out and we replaced it with Swampert, and the Swampert didn't have rest, then I think there's an argument, even though we have Skarmory and Flygon and 2 other spike immunities, that might not be quite a Superman team. The issue is, right, with Superman, you want to be able to switch a lot on spikes, and your grounded Pokemon are going to be taking a lot of spikes damage because you don't really have a way to stop spikers from getting damage. Flygon's Flamethrower is not going to stop Skarmory from getting 3 layers. It's just going to stop Skarmory from, like, being able to sit in on Flygon forever. Like, to be a Flygon switch for the entire game. So, Tyranitar is usually a pretty common Pokemon on your, like, Superman teams because they fit into that TSS style, as my opponent just forfeits right there as I get a ED with the Tyranitar. I'm guessing that their team is really bad into Tyranitar. They must be relying on Dugtrio to trap the Tar, but I mean, like, when the Tar double edges into the Dugtrio switch, like, things get a little hairy for you, right? But Pokemon like Tyranitar are great because they, well, I mean, this is the only Pokemon that can do this, but it sets Sandstorm. So that's really good for, like, a TSS style of Superman, which is more what this falls into. I don't think I actually have Toxic on anything. I could have Toxic on Skarm. I could have Toxic on Flygon, although I think that it's okay to drop Toxic for Flamethrower in this case. But Tyranitar is usually worth it, even though it can get worn down pretty easily. It's still, 1, really good at setting the Sandstorm, and 2, with something like a DD set, it's good at beating the opposing birds. Because if you're playing against another Superman team, or just a team that has some like flying types, some spike immunities, like say like Big Five Zapdos, you want to be able to hit those hard so that spikes will wear down the rest of their Pokemon, like their Swampert and their Blissey and their Tyranitar. But yeah, the idea with Tyranitar is pretty sound. With Quagsire here, with Rest, I think it has enough longevity, and also the Sand immunity is really good too, that you can justify it. I think other Pokemon that can fit in this Quagsire slot, like say Swampert, is particularly if you have like a Rest Swampert. Blissey fits pretty well because one of the things that Superman struggles with is special offense. Special offense will just, like, a Suicune will obliterate this team, right? You don't have a switch in. So, and that's sort of why I think Quagsire has a place on Superman compared to Swampert. But yeah, Blissey can help with that. Another Pokemon that's really good is Jirachi, and particularly Wish variants of Jirachi, like a defensive Jirachi for that is really good at passing some health to your teammates as well as sustaining itself, and it is a rock resist. I do think that there's a lot of value in having another rock resist on your Superman team, so Quagsire fits that as well. But Jirachi is really good because it's a rock resist. It isn't enough special wall that you're not going to immediately lose to special offense. And you have some good ways to support your team. You can Toxic, you can Fire Punch, Body Slam. All that status is really good. And it's sustainable enough because... So, yeah. Third rule. I'm not going to repeat the first two. Okay. Third rule. No more than one Pokemon on the team that does not have a way to heal itself. And leftovers does not count. So, here we go. Now we're up against Shipwreck Explorer. So that's probably a Fredazi fan, but how close that is to Fredazi's, you know it. And yeah, this is gonna be an interesting one with a Smeargle lead. Smeargle gonna go for Spore into the Tyranitar. And let's see. I think of anything else that you would absolutely need. Superman team. Yeah. I think the number of spike immunities probably does play a role into it. Like, having just two, even if the rest of your team meets certain qualifications, I don't know if that's necessarily sufficient for a Superman. Like, if you have Recover Celebi, Rest Suicune, Blissey, and like Wish Jirachi as your 4 grounded, I don't think that even if it's like Skarm and Claydol, or Skarm and Flygon as your 2 entities, I don't know if I would necessarily consider that to be a Superman team. That to me, like, it's still not good into spikes, right? Like, yeah, you have a lot of healing, but you're doing too much with relying on healing and not spinning hazards. And additionally, like, that team would also have some troubles dealing with Skarm, where you're gonna have to tech a lot of moves at Skarm. Not ideal. That Tyranitar has Ice, by the way. That's not good. But Aerodactyl's pretty cool because it's looking really threatening with it. Bug Trio comes in. That's not going to live in Earthquake, except it is because it's got Endure. But Endure Dug Trio is super duper terrible. I mean, honestly, like, it just thuds to Skarm. I could just set up hazards here if I want to against the Dug, which is what I'm going to. And yeah, somebody said, you know, I like V5, but I don't like playing a defensive V5, so let me swap out the Blissey for a Smeargle and do something insane. That kind of crazy. Kind of a mix of styles here. Well, I think it's interesting, but I don't really like it. So, Shipwreck Explorer, if you're watching this, I think you have got an interesting team, and I don't like it. That's what I have to say. Yeah. So that's kind of a brief overview of Superman. Maybe I'll make a video that's more specific to Superman at some point. But as it stands, I think this is going to be good enough. We'll let this battle play out. Let this Pilotwings play out. Wow, what an awesome song to end on, as this Gengar is going to... And yeah, that's basically all I had to say. So this was a short one to tide us over until we get to the next bigger video. But that's going to do it for me. So we'll see you for the next video.